Welcome everybody to Crushing It 2021 Dig Deeper. So this is the first live coaching that I'm doing today, and I'm with Cyndi Parks. Hi, Cyndi.
Hi, Alicia.
How are you today?
I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go back to the beginning of Crushing It 2021 and go through the coaching sessions, just through the coaching program, through the elements, and we're going to coach live. So that way you can experience from somebody else's coaching exactly what it's like, first of all, to coach live and to really dig in. But second of all, what the elements were really meant to affect. So from day one, the first coaching was all about, well, let me just start from the beginning. This is about transitioning your life. And this is about really doing the hard work and the hard stuff that makes you become the person that you're meant to be. We all have greatness inside of us. We all have something to offer and something to be on this planet. We know that, right? We all know that. We feel it inside, and we cut ourselves short a lot of times because either one, we're not willing to do the work, or two, we don't know how to do the work. So this is about being willing and having some direction. So the very first day had a couple of pieces to it. The first part was, and Cyndi, I'm going to ask you live, so we're just going to go with this now. Okay. So the first part is, do you remember a time when you really wanted something really, really bad? And you were doing all the things you thought, like you were doing the positive thinking, maybe you were, feeling good about it, but you didn't accomplish, or get what you were trying to achieve, accomplish, or get. Do you remember a time like that?
Yes.
You want to share?
Yes. So I had several interviews for pharmaceutical sales jobs when I moved here, to the Woodlands from Idaho. And there was one in particular that I felt a strong passion for. It was for women. It was a medication for menopause, which I was going through menopause. So I felt like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. The other thing was that it was a competitor to a product that I had already sold before in my pharmaceutical sales career. So I had got it in my head that I was the perfect person to sell this, right? I was in menopause. I was the patient, and I've sold the competing product and have been in this industry a long time. So I had the perfect resume. Like, how could they possibly find anybody more qualified?
What a great example. Okay. And what happened?
It didn't happen. I didn't get the job. They gave it to a man.
What?
Honestly, I look back and they mentioned that there was a guy in the position before, and he was moving to League City. He lived in League City, and he'd been driving up to the Woodlands to do this territory. Well, obviously he was, probably helping replace that role. If I had to guess, I look back and go, okay, he probably had a buddy. We have a lot in the pharma industry, a lot of people in that industry, and he probably got his friend that job, and that's fine. It wasn't meant to be for me. So I'm perfectly happy.
Were you disappointed?
At the time I was, but I actually had had a discussion with God before I went to that interview, because that was my second really good interview where I had gone through the entire, like 3 or 4 iterations, and it was down to me and maybe 1 or 2 other people. And the first one happened at Thanksgiving time. Didn't get that one, but it wasn't as good of a fit for me. But this one was like, okay, I made had a discussion with the Lord and said, if I don't get this job, then I'm not meant to be in the pharmaceutical sales industry anymore, because I had really been struggling with it anyway. There were times I didn't feel good about being in the industry. I felt, what's the word? I just felt like I didn't always believe in some of the products that I've sold. The last one I did really believe in, it was a morning sickness medication, and I'd had really bad morning sickness. So anytime you are, selling something that you would have used yourself, or you feel like there's obviously this great need for, and of course, that's what led me to the Juice Plus, because I was using Juice Plus at the time this happened, and I'd seen incredible results with my health. And so that just when it kind of the light bulb came on and said, okay, Cyndi, you're spinning your wheels. You're meant to do this other route. And that's what happened.
And you went the other route. Okay. Well, what a great example, because I remember lots of times along the way being disappointed that I didn't didn't get things a long way before I realized that my life happened for me, not to me. And
Yes.
so I would be disappointed and I mean, really let down, but you already had made a plan. Like you already knew that it was either this or something better. See, I like to look at it like that. It's this or something better.
Yes.
So you'd already decided that, okay, this is the last shot with this industry. If it's
I
not
kind of
this.
felt like it's like, because it takes a lot of effort, as you know, I mean, it takes months and months. It's a full-time job looking for a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, going through all those motions of the applications and then 5 interviews and, you're like, okay, Lord, I've done this so long now. If this is not going to happen and this is the perfect job for me, then you're obviously saying, stop. No, this is not meant to be.
Right.
You're going to open the other door for me.
So you were looking for signs and direction. Okay. That's really good. Okay. So you have a really good example. That's what I would have said about that is there's one of two things. If we're honest with ourselves, we didn't really do what we were supposed to do. Like we didn't go all in. We didn't try hard enough. We didn't do our part, or it really just wasn't meant to be. And either way, it really just wasn't meant to be, though, truthfully, like either way. But sometimes we can take an experience and look at it and see, what could I have done better? Could I have, and it doesn't sound like you had that in that situation. Could I have performed better? Could I have prepared better? Yeah. Okay. So in that case, so let's talk about a time when you really, really, really wanted something and it happened. Share that story.
Something had happened. Wow. Okay. Oh, well, this is really digging deep. I'm not sure I want to go there, but I guess I will. It's the only thing that's coming to mind. I'm asking the Lord to give me that, vision. So, something that I really wanted. Now this didn't happen like overnight though. So this was a process, but it was a phone call that happened that started the process that I was really longing for and needed wholeheartedly with every fiber of my being. My daughter and I were estranged for several years when she was younger. I had lost her in a custody battle because she chose to go live with her dad. And she was at an age 14 or 13 that the judge said that she could make a decision. And again, we've reiterated what that decision was. And I was cool with it. I had to let go. It was the most painful thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life, probably, and will be for the rest of my life unless she passes or one of my children passes before me. But again, it was a loss of a child, right? Yeah. Loss of relationship that meant the world to me. And I had my son, who was a year and a half at the time. And I think she was jealous of him. So she really, when she came back to visit the first time, she didn't have fun. She wasn't allowed to have fun. It was a, really horrible situation for her that her other parent wasn't allowing her to participate in my life. So I made a decision that this isn't working and it doesn't feel good to me and doesn't feel good to you. So let's not push this anymore. When you're ready to have a relationship with me, I am 1000% here. You know how to get in touch with me, and I will be there for you, but I'm not going to force this to happen anymore. Wow. And again, very hard decision to make. So, when she was 16, she called me and I mean, I was hoping and praying for years. So 2 years of, just down on my knees with the Lord, like, why are you doing this to me? This totally sucks as a parent. That's the only thing I ever wanted to be was a mom. And why, I just didn't understand it at the time. And people would always tell me, oh, it's going to be okay. She's going to come back. And most people predicted she would reach out in her 20s when she got older. So honestly, I was really blessed that she came back to me when she was 16 and wanted back into our family. And that meant my whole family. Like, she gave up a relationship with everybody on my side of family, my brother, her cousins, her grandparents. So it wasn't just me that she turned her back on. And so it was wonderful because the whole family just embraced her wholeheartedly. And we're like, okay, yay, Sam's back. We we get to love on her again. So it was wonderful. And, we talk all the time now, every day, if not every other day. So
That's awesome. All right. So tell me about that situation as far as what did you glean from that you now apply to situations in your life that look hopeless or that you want to go one way and they're not going that way? What did you glean from that?
I think the Lord, again, I was praying for understanding, and hindsight is 2020. That's a real thing, right? It's after the fact, you can see, anytime you have pain in your life, and I mean, that means any kind of pain, physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain. I think you can look back at those times and see that God is refining you. He's working on you, and he's trying to, change you in some form or fashion. I think the letting go process was really hard for me, and he needed me to do that with joy, learn to let go of things in my life. And I'll be honest, I still struggle with it. It's not easy. I still have a hard time sometimes letting go of things. But I also realize I can trust him now. I can absolutely 1000% trust him. And he's given me patience during that hard time when I'm, suffering, or I'm, that season of rain, you want to call it, that it's okay. I can still have joy during that period of time in my life now. And there's been many more after that, but that was probably the hardest one.
Can you think of a situation that you are in presently that is similar?
Yes. Going through some struggles with my daughter, Gracie, right now, who is 11, about to be 12. That's a tough time, that teenage. We're struggling with issues around technology, and she's had some mental health issues lately that we're getting back on track. And she's in a healthy place right now, which has been a godsend. And again, that wasn't the case earlier in the year. So yeah, again, I've been able to trust. I mean, it was hard. Did it take me down a little bit? Sometimes, I mean, I have to be honest. I mean, no, did I stay in bed for a week? Yeah. Did I, Netflix binge? I don't know why that helps us, but it does for some reason.
Gets us to not think is what it does.
Yeah. It just lets you be numb for a little while and just kind of, I know it's wallowing a little bit, but as my older daughter, Sam, likes to tell me, it's also called turtling. And I like that expression. I get to turtle a little bit and just kind of live in my shell and not have to deal with the outside world. And it makes you stronger sometimes. You kind of heal, and then you can come out of the room and go, all right, I'm ready. I'm ready to take it on. So
awesome. Okay. So I need to grab my notebooks. I think
floor of all places.
Okay.
Okay. So that was number 1 on the elements. Is that right?
What's that?
So this was the first section.
Yes, this is well, and there's actually a second part to it. We actually did 2 parts to it. And that was to start digging into the have, do, or be, if you could have, do, or be, which is what I wanted to pull up now. So before we go into the have, do, or be, what I want to know is there but first let me summarize. So what I hear you say is that what you've learned is, the way I describe it is that, life happens for you, not to you, right? So things are happening for a reason, and you're able to trust and rely and surrender that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, I like that word, surrender. I've struggled with that word in the past, but that's truly what it is. You have to surrender.
Okay. Now let's just switch it to a business perspective for a second, because I like to do it in all areas of our life. Is there a place in your business life? Because I know you work with in my company, you're an entrepreneur like I am. So is there a place in your personal life, business life, that you are having difficulty surrendering?
I was struggling with a system that the company had developed or put in place in regards to how to do this type of business. It wasn't familiar to me. It was a little more foreign. And so I really had a hard time at first. I was fighting it and saying, well, I want to go to businesses and talk about fruits and vegetables and nutrition. And they're like, well, that's not really, I mean, you can, it's not going to be as effective, right? Like if you want to be prosperous sooner, like you really want to affect more lives quickly, you probably need to go, talk to people one-on-one more quickly. So anyway, I kind of backed off that plan. It's still a piece of it, but I realized that I had to surrender to a system that has been around for a long time, 20 plus years, and it's working, and they know what they're doing better than I do. So
anywhere else?
So the one I've been struggling with the last couple of weeks, actually for a long time, is the inviting people to hear my story, inviting people to learn about my business. I just don't like it. It doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't come natural yet.
Okay, write that down.
Okay. I've been doing it, but it's so hard.
Did you do the assignment I gave you the other day, the challenge I gave you? Did you do that?
I did do it. I did do it.
Good job. Okay.
Not on the time frame that you wanted me to, but I did do it.
Okay, good. We'll talk about that after.
Yeah.
Okay. So what do I want to, so this is the next part. What do I want to have, do, or be? So it's, if I could have, do, or be anything in the world, and this is where I'm not sure that everybody digs in it the way that I would prefer them to, because this is more than just a list. So what I want people to do with this is think about every area of their life. And if they could have, do, or be in each area, what would they have, do, or be? And this is unlimited. This is going from the perspective of your unlimitedness and what's really in your heart. I like to start everything with what I don't want, though. Okay. So if you can go, as a mother, who do I not want to be? What feelings do I not want to have? How do I not want to show up? Because it's easier to put into play what you do want it's just human nature. We're really good at looking at the negative side of things, right? It's really not easy for us to describe what it is that we do actually want. So the easiest way for me is to go to what I don't want first. So if you can go to, as a mother, who do I not want to be? How do I not want to show up?
Right.
What things am I doing wrong that I don't like?
Yeah.
And do that as a wife, as a businesswoman, as in every area, with God, in my spiritual life, like every area, go through and start with what you don't want, and then reverse it in describing to what you do want. Did you do that work already? Do you have it in front of you?
I did some of it. I'll be honest, I've lost my notes, so I don't have it in front of me, but I kind of remember most of it. Yeah.
So what we're looking for, so let me describe it to you.
Okay.
Thoughts, feelings, and emotions that serve us. Okay. But again, let's start with what we don't like. And there are plenty of those. We're really going to go in and find the things that we don't like and who we don't like being. And then what I start with is just then go to the thoughts and feelings that I do want. So write everything you don't want, and it's going to make it really clear the things that I do want. So I'll give you an example. The things that I found that I did want are love, contentment, joy, fun, gratitude, relaxation, contentment. Those were all words that I wrote down, which are,
that you don't want.
No, those are things that I do want. I didn't write down. I'm not looking at the
Okay.
ones that I don't want. I'm looking at the ones that I do.
Okay.
Because when I did my ones I don't want, I actually went through every category. So this is like kind of a synopsis that I worked from. Thoughts and feelings that I do want. So, because then I can take that into each area. Then I went to what things give me those feelings. Family, spending time with my husband, driving to explore things, my home being clean and organized and pretty, decorating, Disney, sitting on the back porch, having coffee with my husband, having plenty of money, being outside, succeeding in my Juice Plus business, and synchronicities.
Synchronicities.
When things just flow, when things just happen.
Okay.
Being in that space of things just happening, really, so that goes back to surrendering to me. When we're in the place of surrender and we're focusing on the feelings that we do want, you notice that's when things happen. And not always exactly on our timeline. So I'm going to share a story because I like coming from stories. So my most recent story, there's been plenty of these in my life, and I really need to go sit down sometime and write down the different ones so that I can pull them from them easily. But my most recent one was when 2 years ago, it's 3 years ago now, we actually were buying this house.
Right.
We'd found this house. We didn't move into it a year later. So we found the house, before we even put any paperwork in line. Then we had to go backtrack and do like, can we get a mortgage for this house? We did all that. Then we had to put Eric's house on the market, and Eric had lived in his house for 13 years. And I was left to do most of the work to get it pulled together, to put it on the market, to get the price that we wanted. And, there's so many things I would have done differently looking back, as there always is. You mentioned that earlier. Yeah. Then next thing I know, we had just put our house on the market. I'm getting a call from the builder saying, you're closing next week. So I don't know how our timelines got mixed up. I don't know. I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. I'm bawling because I'm like, we just put the house on the market, or we're just about to. We hadn't even put it on the market yet. It was the thing that it was like early in the week. And that's the thing that made me put it on the market that Friday. And it's actually probably a good thing, because I would have probably driven myself to insanity trying to make the house perfect. Instead, right. I made it, it's good. And it was really good. It really was, but I would have probably kept going. Okay. So I'm bawling my head off thinking, we're not going to get to move in our house. We've put $20,000 down on this house. Okay. All that being said, put the house on the market on Friday. We have it on Monday, an offer, asking price, like full price. I'm so excited. I'm like, see, let me tell you, I went into complete ego at this point. See, look at what I can do. Look at what I did. Like, all ego. I know it's embarrassing.
No, and we've all done it.
I thought it was all me. There wasn't a thank you, God. There was not, it was just thank you, God. But no, like really, it was all me. And then a few weeks later, we found out the guy who bought the house couldn't actually get a mortgage for the house. I don't know what the mix up was. There was like one mix up after another, right? Because he should have already been able to know at any rate. So that got pulled. So we had to put it back on the market again at like 30 days later. Now, keep in mind, they wanted me to close like a week before I put it on the market. They were ready for me to close. So now they've pulled this house from us. They put it back on the market to sell. Now they're trying not to like sell it, but I'm panicking. I'm like, no, we're not going to get our house. Like this is all. And if you knew the whole story going up to it, was I had a house of my own that I adored, that I sold and moved in around Eric and his children. I never felt like I was at home there. It was their home, right? I never could make it my own. We needed to get our own place.
Yeah.
So finally, during this process, I don't know if we're going to sell. I don't know if we're going to get to move. I got to surrender. And it's like, you know what, God, if this is where you want me to be, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to be happy here. Thank you for helping me get it cleaned up. Thank you for me. I got it painted. I got new carpets. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Then it's okay. I know, you know what's happening in the future. And if this is where we're supposed to be, then I'm okay with that. Surrender. Then I went to this process. However, I really do love the house we picked out. And I know you want the best for me. So I'm going to pray that it's that or something better. It doesn't have to be right this second. I'm going to be perfectly happy out here, but in the future, I would like a house just like that, or something even better, something I don't even know about yet, something I can't see yet. And I literally had to get happy and contented and surrendered to that.
Yeah.
And I would still envision myself in my meditations being in this living room, because it was the feeling that I wanted. And that's why I want to get to the feelings of these conversations.
Yeah.
It's never the house. It's never the guy. It's never the job. It's not those things. It's the feeling that we want, that state of bliss that God designed us to be. Not that it's going to be perfect all the time, but you mentioned being in joy, even when things weren't in the circumstances that you want them. Every time I try to press things and make them happen on my time, my terms, my way, first of all, it never makes you happy. Second of all, when I'm trying to force it, it's actually force. It's actually work. And it's been that way in my business from the beginning. Anytime that I've tried to force it and it's about me and I have to do better and I have to work harder. First of all, I'm working harder. Who wants to work harder, right? I have to work hard. And people around me notice that I'm working hard. That is not, who wants to do that? That's not what I want to be. But it just doesn't come easy. So that back to you asked me about synchronicities. That's synchronicities to me. That's in the state of flow. That's in the state of joy and bliss, the way God designed us to be, being happy where we are in this moment and knowing that it's whatever it is that we have in our heart is there for a reason. The things that we desire are there for a reason, and that is okay. And we get to have those things. And we need to be doing the things to make those happen, but in a place of synchronicity and flow. And when I'm there, we moved into this house, it worked out and it went smoothly from then on out. Everything actually acted in our favor after that. Right. I remember looking at the closing payment work and saying there must be something wrong because we're getting more money than I think we should have. Like, it was like that. And that's what happens, right? When you're in synchronicity and you're in flow and you're in bliss. So sorry.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that. Yep. I've experienced that several times as well. Uh-oh. People cough.
And that's why you have an edit. When you record things, you can edit them.
Good.
Goodness. Okay. So at any rate, that's what that is. And so that's the purpose of this whole exercise, is to look at your life and say, where am I not showing up, being who I want to be, having the feelings I want to have, and turn that into. And by doing this, you can pick moments in time like that, where you knew, like, that's when I was in the flow. That's when I was in surrender. That's when I was in synchronicity. That's when things become magical when that happens.
Yeah.
And you, especially in our business, you stop making it about you. You stop taking things personally. And that's when it's easier to get out of your way. Back to the thing you wrote down, where I'm having trouble. Where I'm having trouble here. Why? Let's dissect that for a second. I'm having trouble here because it's about me. I'm having trouble in this place because I'm afraid I'm going to look bad. And most of the time it's like, I'm going to lose something. I'm going to lose my self-esteem, my credibility, how somebody views me. I'm going to lose money. Like there's something that you feel like you're going to lose here, which is, and believe me, at the beginning of the year, this was my big thing, right? This was my thing. I couldn't just tell my story to anybody. And I had to really do some work around that. And even now I'm doing a lot more things on social media, and I had to go, I'm going to be putting myself out there. Am I willing to lose social credibility? That's what it's about, right? You don't want to tell your friend something because you're afraid you're going to lose social credibility with that person. So you also have to go and examine your belief, which I know your belief is there. It's not that it's not there. Okay. You just have to go dig in and define it and remember why this is so powerful to you and why you want to share that message.
Yeah.
And then get yourself out of the way. This isn't about me. If I'm going in and I'm serving you, I'm completely in service to you, and I'm serving God, I'm completely in service to God, then all I'm doing is the job. All I'm doing is being the messenger. The result isn't up to me. What happens, the outcome, none of that's up to me. What's up to me is I open my mouth.
Or send a text, or exactly.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, that's opening your mouth. So, and there have been many times in my life and in my business where I knew for sure God was telling me to go talk to somebody, and I didn't do it. Okay. Many times. And I mean, don't let that happen to you many times. One time I felt like this woman who had her own $1 million business firm, an accounting firm, I knew she was going to just judge me because I didn't have a real business. And, so I kept putting off talking to her. So somebody else goes and talks to her about another inferior product, and she joins their team and then comes to try and recruit me. Okay. So that was one. The other was the chiropractor who, at the end of my street, who I just wouldn't talk to him. So the day I finally got the nerve up to go to talk to him, somebody else had been there the day before and signed him up. Then there was the time that I was thinking about this weekend, that a friend of mine was talking in a way that I knew she didn't understand Jesus as a personal savior. And I really felt compelled that I should tell her, and I put it off. And I went back to her house a week later, and she was so excited to tell me what had happened to her, where somebody else had shared this that she didn't know.
Well, she still got the message.
Right. Well, that was my whole point. So what I learned, that was the very first time. The other two were later in my business. What I learned from that is, if God has told me very clearly, if you don't go, I'm going to send somebody else.
You're right. You're right about that.
And that's not what I wanted. Yeah. Because he put me here to do this work, and I want him, because I get a great bit of joy and just so much fuel out of it when I do see it work out. Right.
Right.
When people get it, and I have to just divorce myself from that outcome, because it took your daughter 2 years to come back to you. It could have taken, you were prepared for it to take 6.
Yeah.
Right. That's the place you have to be. I'm prepared for it to take as long as it's going to take. I know it's going to happen. It's in God's timing. It's going to work out perfectly. But I know he's asking me to open my mouth now. So I need to open my mouth now. That's what he's
I think
asking
that's
me
the
to
part
do.
I'm struggling with sometimes, the listening part. Listening is actually a skill, like that's top of my list right now, is I've got to be a better listener, listening to God, listening to my husband, my kids, basically everybody. I know I want to hone that skill and make
Write that
so
down, because that's going
strong.
to put it on your list.
Yeah.
Okay. And so what you're going to do with that particular one, because that's top on your list, you're going to go through, how can I listen better as a mother? Here's how I know I'm doing it right. How can I listen better as a wife? Here's how I know I'm doing it right. Here's how I can listen better when it comes to God. Here's how I know
Yep.
how do I know how can I listen better in my career? Here's how I know I'm listening. Okay. So this is the way you hone in and take the shortcut to fix something like that. When you see something staring at you and you're saying, okay, this is an area I'm weak in, I need to work on this. This is the first thing to do. What does it look like when I am listening to my children? What does it look like when I'm listening to my husband? What does it look like when I'm listening to God? What does it look like when I'm listening in my business? Okay. So that's a big one for you. So make sure you do that in every area of your life.
Okay.
And you define what that looks like. So that's exactly what this exercise is about. Taking those things, the feelings you want to have and how it looks when you are in that place, when you're doing that thing. Because I promise you, when you've walked away from a conversation with your daughter or your son or both your daughters or your husband, and you've been present and really heard them and you've listened, you're going to feel really amazing walking away from that conversation, because you did what you were being
one
the woman
in the car.
Okay, awesome. So write that
really
down
good.
because that's an example. You want to write those examples down too, because you want to remember,
Right.
That we forget as human beings. Okay. So that's what this exercise is all about.
Okay.
It's really honing in. If we could have, do, or be anything in the world, what would it be? So I started with each word, have. Okay. What do I want to have? Plenty of unrushed, relaxed time with my husband. Lots of trips to Disney, a beautiful furnished home, a backyard oasis, a Disney vacation home, plenty of money, plenty of money, comma, more than I can imagine. Synchronicities, a magical life. Those go together. Synchronicities, magical life. Straight teeth, an expanded palate, great skin, shapely arms, trim waist, fit legs. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Hit. That's everything I could have. Then I went to, what do I want to do? Pay off our debt, retire my husband, become an MD, make $10,000 a month, be a top network marketer in the world, train for Eric Worre, train for Juice Plus. Okay, what do I want to be? Grateful, relaxed, present, an inspiration, a good wife, a good mother, stepmom, a good chishi, an excellent leader and inspiration, a powerful healer, energy worker, manifester, creator, a worldwide trainer and speaker, a leader with powerful vision and purpose that I can relate to and inspire others with. And then so that's have, do, or be. Okay. Then I ask this question: what can I let go of to give me more time and improve my life? So write that one down. For me, it was games, stressing, spending without thinking.
TV, Netflix.
Yeah. Things like complaining, anxiety, exhaustion. I put exhaustion because exhaustion is not something that people think of as having a choice about, but it actually is, because we can be exhausted. Well, let me think. How do they say it? We can feel exhausted without being exhausted. Because when we surrender to being exhausted, right, everything becomes very difficult, very painful, but we can be that. And I mean, we can feel that way and not have to be that. We don't have to take exhaustion on as a whole state of being. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I think it's kind of like when you get sick too, like it almost becomes their identity a little bit, and they wallow in it and they like it like a warm blanket. And it's like, no, I want that off me.
That's
Get
right.
away.
Exactly. And then the next question I asked was, who do I want to become? And this was just all descriptive words, all adjectives: consistent, bold, brave, strong, present, loving, kind, happy, grateful, etc. Okay. And then I took each one of those words and defined it, what it meant to me, not what it means in the dictionary, because that's irrelevant. So consistent was this consistent activity. And then I actually gave myself some credit. I actually greatly improved. Here's some areas I need to still improve with. I need more consistency in. And then I outline those things. Okay. So what is consistently for me? The first word I had was consistency. What does that mean to me?
Okay.
Where have I done it well? Where do I still need to improve? And define that.
Okay.
For example, I did follow-up. I need to schedule it and do it within 12 hours. So it wasn't just follow-up, because a word like follow-up doesn't mean anything if you don't give it a definition.
Yeah.
That's the really digging in part. That's why this takes a little bit of time, because you've really got to go through every bit of it. Then I put the next word I had was bold. I put bold / brave because they were 1, 2, and 3. Be more brave with sharing the product and business. What does that look like? Sharing with everyone. That's what it looks like. Finding a place where I can say, do you have a second? I want to tell you my story. Okay. So define it. What does that mean? When I hear that inner prompting, don't hesitate. Go with it. Do like I did with Percy the other day. I have no idea why your name popped in my head. Or I have no idea why I feel compelled to share this with you, but I do. So do you have a second?
I know this sounds crazy, but God told me to talk to you.
I've done that. I don't, you can even say though, I don't know if this will resonate with you the same way that did me, but da, 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 da. And just by taking a time to like, just list those kind of things out, it gives you something to put in your back pocket where you can go, well, I'm going to pull that one out. I don't know if this will resonate with you the same way it did me, but you might have a second. Let me share this with you, or, have a few starter sentences that you can pull out just to get the conversation going. Present, kind, and loving. Those were the next 3 words. And to me, they kind of went together. So I put them together. Take time to be fully present. And this was in my business and my personal life, because if we struggle in one place, we struggle in all. So when I'm on the phone or on Zoom, truly be present with that person. I feel like for me, the year before I did this, my word for the year was present, because I realized that being present like a child, because a child is present in every moment, fully engaged, happy about exactly where they are. They're not worrying about how they slept last night or what they're having for dinner today. They're not worried about if somebody was making fun of them or, how many likes they got on their social media. I'm talking about young children, obviously. Like my grandchildren, like they just show up full of joy, happy, and completely present. You're here. It's you. I'm so excited to see you. What can we do together? Let's have fun. That's how I that makes me feel so good. And that's the feeling that I want to give to other people, right? I want to be that way for people. I want to show up and be present like that. So whatever those words are, like really dig in, okay, to that. And this is quite a bit of an assignment.
Yes,
so I went through each word. Let's see if I think I just defined each word. Simple, brave, fit, healthy. I put fun, I'm sure, because I listed fun things. Yeah, I did. Fun. So I listed things that were fun. Mindset. And that's the end of assignment 1.
Okay.
See why I say I don't think people really dig into that the way that I think that it's meant to be done, because it really you're going to take some time and figure out where you're not showing up the way you want to, what it looks like if you do, and then really figuring out who you want to become, who you want to be, and define those behaviors, words, and actions, those feelings, define them. So when you're there.
Yeah, because when you asked me the other day, that who do you want to become? I'm really struggling with that. I still don't have a visual. You got to, like you said, you got to get clear and you got to get clarity. I don't have it yet.
Well,
and it's
some
because
time
I haven't dug in. I haven't done the work yet.
Right.
To get there. And I've actually, so what I just wrote down is journaling. I think that would help me with my process to start journaling, because in my head, and we probably all do this, you look at kind of the whole day that went by and you're like, oh man, I could have done that better. I could have done, I wish I hadn't done that one, or, that kind of thing. That to me, if I could start journaling and say, okay, how would I do it different next time? And that's going to help me get that clarity. I think if I can, I'm thinking it, but I don't put it down. I've got to put things down in writing.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't happen.
Whenever you go through this process and you take the time, and it may take you a couple days to do it.
Yeah.
If you actually take the time and look at where, like, pray about it, meditate on it, and then sit there and write, be in silence. You take the time to do that and be honest, be gut level honest with yourself about where you're not showing up. I mean, this is just you, the paper, and God. This is the time to be gut level honest. At the time I wrote this, I knew I wasn't being the stepmother that I wanted to be. And it made me very clear. And I can tell you that I went back and corrected things, and I've never behaved that way again. Because I got level honest with myself. I was like, you can't do this to people. Like, this is wrong. You have to show up differently.
Yeah.
And I've never done it again, because I got gut level honest with myself. If you get gut level honest and you are honest about who you're being, especially with the people closest to you, you got to clean that stuff up. It's got to get cleaned up, because it starts here at home. We got to do it right here, but we got to define what we're not doing right, and flip that script and define what it looks like when we are doing it right. And you're still not going to do it perfectly all the time, but you're going to clean a lot of stuff up really fast.
Perfect, but the goal is to know what you want to do more of, and what's going to feel good, make you
who sits down and actually does this? People don't sit down and really think about this. Not very much. But really, we just go through life knocking around.
Is start with who have I looked up to? Who have been my mentors?
Put that down, write that down. That's great. That's great, because that's a great thing for you to look at. That's a good way.
Because I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner. And so I've got to visualize behaviors in people. And okay, that person really embodied what I want to do and be. So there was somebody came to mind, was a lady named Georgia. Kind of like a pseudo grandmother to me. She was close with both my parents, but she was the only one during the divorce that was still friends with both of them. And she was the one who did Truth with Love with me. And I still, to this day, I didn't even spend that much time with her, but she made the biggest impact. I can just,
wow,
still feel how I felt in that moment when she did Truth with Love with me. And I fully accepted it. I didn't like it at the time. It hurt. I was like 9 or 10 years old, and she was telling me I was being a little,
How did she present that to you?
She pulled me aside in a bedroom. My mother was, and I'd been really mean and cruel to my mother. My mother was left, my father left her for another woman. And so she was hurting. I was being cruel. I mean, I was kicking her while she was down, but I wanted to blame her for, my dad leaving, because it couldn't be me, because that would be too hard. And obviously it was neither of us.
Right.
But the point was that I was hurting and I was lashing out, because that anger was something I knew how to do. It was an emotion I lived in a lot.
We all do. Mm-hmm.
Have been in most of my life, that I still struggle with. And so she pulled me aside and she's like, this is not okay. You're not behaving appropriately. I'm not going to put up with this. And if I ever see you do this to your mother again, I will come over here, and I don't care how old you are. I'm going to swat your butt, and, I'll get a paddle if I have to. Like, she was just very frank and honest with me. She goes, look, I want you to know how much I love you. And if I didn't love you, I wouldn't tell you that you're being this way, that this behavior, and it's not about, and she made me understand. I've tried to do this with my kids. It's not that I don't love you. I don't love your behavior. Right. And that's when I first, as a child, realized that behavior and the person are separate.
Did she identify also did she identify that she knew you were hurting at all?
She did. She probably did. That's not the part that I remember the most.
Okay. I was just curious, because I think I would make sure that I knew, but I guess she got the point across at any rate.
I mean, I think she did, because I did know that she loved me. That's what I said. I felt her love for me, that she was telling me, even though she wasn't my biological grandmother, she was treating me like I was her biological granddaughter. And I just was like, okay, you're right. I love you. I respect you. You're telling me the truth. And you're right. I can see that my behavior is not okay. I'm hurting my mother, and I'm not doing myself a service. I didn't know where those emotions were coming from. And then you can kind of look at it and go, okay, those emotions aren't, okay. They're not, they're not valid, because I'm being mad at my mother and she didn't do anything.
Yeah. Typical kid response. So they blame themselves, or they blame one or the other.
And that's what I've tried to do with my kids lately is I still struggle with anger issues. and they know it. And we talk about it all the time. And my daughter does too. So one of the things is like, whenever she's upset or she's feeling a certain way, and I can see where she acts out the way I did when I was young. I'll say, okay, what is it that you're really upset about? Let's really get down to what is it you're feeling and where those emotions are coming from. And when we peel it back, peel the onion layer,
Right. Because anger is only a cover. It's always a cover emotion. You're angry because you're scared. Usually you're scared.
Yeah, it's usually fear.
It's usually fear. We're so fear driven.
Yeah. Or
But
rejection. You feel rejected.
Which is
and
fear.
So you lash out. Yeah.
We're afraid we're not good enough. We're afraid we're not worthy. We're afraid we're going to lose somebody's love. It's still fear. I mean, it's almost always fear of something.
You're right. And it's just figuring out what that is and peeling it back. So now when we do that exercise, it's been very helpful for both of us, because, if she can do it, then I remember that I can do it whenever I'm feeling that. And it's almost like you look, okay, I'm angry. I'm feeling those feelings again. Where's that coming from? Why am I feeling this way? Let's, peel it back.
That's good. Well, and it just occurred to me, like I've gone through a lot in my life, but it just occurred to me that even just saying about going through what I've gone through or learning what I've learned, there was a time I didn't know that anger was a cover emotion or that I was fear driven. So we go through this life happens for us, not to us.
Yes.
And we pick up these things along the way, and we get to use them not only for our own benefit, but to change our families for generations.
Yes. Remove generation.
Or even like that woman, she wasn't your biological grandmother, but she affected you and made a change that's going to be effective through generations. That's impactful. And that is ultimately what we're here to do, is make an impact, to leave an impact, to be here for a purpose. And it's going to look different for everybody. I still think that's multi-level too, multi-layers of purpose, right? I think it's great when we can find a business like we have that helps fulfill and feed our purpose in big ways, but it's not who we are. We are not our Juice Plus business. We are not Juice Plus.
Right.
It just allows us a place to activate the purpose that we actually have. And it's just one place that we get to do that. We just happen to be able to get paid for it. I'm good, because I struggled with that. But that's
word. I love that word. Okay.
All right. I have another call in 3 minutes. So that's it for today. So
thank you so much.
My pleasure. Let me know when you're done, and we'll set up that next appointment.
Okay, we'll do.